What is up, guys? My name is Lex. We are here at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, ready to play a 5-10 no-limit session. First hand, it folds to me on the button. It's a $25 straddle game. I raised to $75 with ace-9 offsuit. The straddle makes the call, so we go heads up in position to 9-8-3. Two spades. I continuation bet for $75 here with top pair, top kicker, and now the straddle check raises me to $250. This is slightly confusing, but with my hand being so strong, I think my only option here is to call, going to the deuce of spades now on the turn. Front door flush gets there, but I actually don't expect him to have too many flush draws that he check raises out of position. I don't expect him to have too many flushes here because it's just pretty uncommon for recreational players to check raise out of position with flush draws. A lot of the time they just call with those hands. So when he continues for $375 on this deuce of spades, he's representing hands like two pairs, sets, and flushes. Like I said before, I don't think he's going to have a flush very often. It's possible he could have a two-pair hand like 8-9, maybe even a set as well. But my hand still feels very strong. I want to call here and see what happens on the river. I do think this is a little bit spewy. Going to the final card, which pairs the board. Honestly, I think it's a great card. It reduces the likelihood that he has a full house now with the board pairing. If he continues here for a large bet, I'll probably fold, but he continues for the same size bet as he made here on the turn. Only $375. Well, for this price, I can't fold now, so I make the call, and we get shown Jack 10 of spades for a flush. These are the spots in poker that I am trying to work on. Spots where I just know I'm beat, but I still pay off anyway. I just felt like I wasn't good on the turn, but I still continue to call 375, and then on the river, when he bets 375, he's just never bluffing there, and unfortunately, I just paid off that bet. I felt like I was beat, but I just couldn't fold. So some things that I'm just trying to work on. But moving on to the next hand where they cut off raises to $60. Looking down at ace queen of clubs in the small blind. Definitely a hand I want to play for more money versus a cutoff open. So I re-raised to $250. Back over to the cutoff who makes the call. And we go heads up to 6-7-8, one club. I do completely miss on this flop and check over to the cutoff, who continues for a small bet according to the size of the pot, only $150. Now, I don't want to give up my equity just yet. I still have two overcards and backdoor flush draws. It's possible here he could be stabbing with hands that were beating as well. So I decide to check call, and we see a good card on the turn, which is the 8 of clubs. Now we pick up the nut flush draw. The only bad thing is that it does pair the board. So we could be drawing dead against a hand like 8-7, 8-6, pocket sixes, pocket sevens. I check again, and he continues now for $300. Well, versus this sizing with the nut flush draw, still holding two overcards to the board, I think I just have one option, which is to call. Going here to the river, looking for some help, and we do not get it. It's the 9 of hearts, a gross, nasty run out for us. I check, and the cutoff goes all in for $1,700, and we snap fold. Not really happy with the way I'm starting off this session. I do feel like I'm playing a little bit spewy, especially in the first hand. This hand I probably could have just folded on the flop. Moving on here with Jack 9 offsuit facing a $100 raise from the small blind, I come along with a call. I think my hand is better as a 3-bet or fold, but either way, we go heads up and I flop top pair. Small blind continues for $60, and versus this sizing, I think he's going to be betting this sizing with his entire range here. All of his king high hands, ace high hands, pocket pairs, flush draws. So with top pair, I raise to $180. Basically trying to get value from his worst hands. Flush draws, straight draws, overcards. Trying to deny equity from those hands as well. Small blind comes along with a call, so it is possible we could be value owning ourselves against a better jack or an overpair, but let's just see what happens on the turn. Fourth card, 7 of spades. He checks to me again, and I think this is a spot where I could check behind or I could bet again. And my plan here is to bet big here on the turn, and if he calls and the river is not a jack or a 9, I will just check back. By betting big here, I can still get value from his big combo draws, and if I was bluffing with a hand like 4-5, ace-5 of diamonds, 5-6 of diamonds, I would be wanting to bet big as well. So I throw out $550 over to the small blind, who gets a count and folds. So we take down our first pot of the day. Alright, so I missed recording this hand, but I have to share it with you guys. So the small blind, a recreational player, calls $25. I have 6-4 of spades in the straddle, and I decided to just raise it to 50. A super exploitative play here I would never do against a tough reg, but I just make it a min raise here to try to take control in the hand, take the lead. I have a decent hand. I want to build up the pot a little bit, so I make it 50. He limp calls $50. So heads up, in position to 7, 3 deuce, 1 spade. So I have a gut shot straight draw, backdoor flush draw. I continue for 50, and he check calls $50. Turn card, queen of spades. So now I have a straight draw and a flush draw. It's an overpair or an overcard to the 7. A great card for me to continue to barrel, but I decided to bet smaller on this turn card. I just bet $80. This is what I would do with all my pairs like 9s, 10s, jacks. This is what I would do with a hand like ace-7. So if I'm going to do it with my value hands, I have to also choose that sizing when I'm bluffing as well. So I bet 80, and he check calls 80. Going to the river looking for a 5, a spade. Nope, it's the jack of clubs. So I completely miss everything. I'm left here with 6 high. He checks, and I consider giving up, but I think it's just a great run out to triple barrel. I can have aces, I can have kings, ace queen, king queen, queens, all those hands, and I feel like he's not going to have that strong of a hand when he check calls to flop, check calls to turn. So I put out a $325 bluff on the river, hoping it will get through. He thinks for like about a minute and calls. So I show my 6 high for a bluff, and he shows ace deuce offsuit for bottom pair. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So he called on the flop, called on the turn, and then called a big bet on the river with bottom pair, and we got owned. So, yeah, that was that hand. Not the best start to this session. Stuck about $2,000 now. I raise ace-6 of hearts. Only playing 4-handed now in the cutoff to $30. Button calls 30, big blind calls 30, and we finally hit a flop with an ace-6-4 2-spade board. Top 2 pair, I continue for $65, just about a 2/3 pot size bet. The button calls and the big blind folds. Heads up now to the queen of diamonds on the turn. My opponent has about $800 left in his stack, and I consider getting a little tricky here and checking over to him, trying to bait him into betting and then check raising all in, but I decided to just bet out $200 here. I don't want to give him a free river card with his flush draws or straight draws. Facing this $200 bet, the button goes into the tank. His body language looks like he's contemplating an all-in or a fold, like he has to make his decision now. But eventually, after a minute of thinking, he calls. So I'm now looking for no queen, no spade on the river, and we get one of the best cards, the 4 of hearts. So now it pairs the board. We have aces and 6s, and if he does have an ace, it looks like maybe he's chopping with some of my aces. So I throw out a $1,000 bet, putting him all in. He snap calls, which could be bad news, but once I show the ace-6, he folds his hand pretty quickly, and we end up taking down over a $2,000 pot here with 2 pair. After this hand, we get a new player at our table. It is Ethan, Rampage Poker on YouTube, one of the top poker vloggers out there right now. A super nice guy. I've met him briefly in Texas and then again in Vegas, and this is actually going to be the first time I get to play with him at the same table. Rampage raises here on the hijack to $75. With King 10 offsuit on the button, I decide to call, which I think is probably the worst option of all my 3 options. 3-bet or fold would probably be the best strategy, but I want to try to make the vlog. The small blind calls as well, and we go 3 ways to the flop. I completely miss and fold here on the river. I've actually been extremely card dead this session. I really haven't picked up many big hands or connected very well with the board. So finally, when I peel back a beautiful King 10 of clubs in the cutoff, I raise to $75 and get immediately 3-bet by the button to $225. While the button has over a $15,000 stack, which is actually one of the biggest stacks I've ever seen here at the 5-10 games. I decided to make the call with King 10 of clubs, a hand that could be dominated, but we're sitting fairly deep. Let's try to smash a board. Heads up, out of position to Jack 9 deuce 1 club. So I've got an overcard, a gut shot straight draw to the nuts, and a backdoor flush draw. The button continues for $250, and with this sizing, I think I could check raise sometimes or call, and this time I decided to just call. The reason I decided to call this $250 bet and not check raise is that the button is very, very sticky. I have some history with this opponent and he hates to fold, so I think I would just be lighting money on fire here if I check raise. I don't think he's betting hands like ace-queen or ace-king very often on the flop. He probably has a pair or an overpair, so I'm just going to try to realize my equity, which we do not. The turn card's a 3 of hearts, a nasty, ugly card for us. I check. Button puts out a bet of over $500, and I fold. In this hand, Rampage raises in the small blind to $100. I call in the strata with 6-3 suited because folding is boring. Heads up to King 10-5 Rainbow. He checks. I check this one back. Given the fact that I have 0 equity on a board that should favor his raising range, I'm not really going to be bluffing here. Turn card 10 of diamonds pairing the board. He checks. I check back again. River King. Not the best board for 6 high. He checks. I check back, and he ends up winning with ace-jack offsuit. Yes, this hand is boring and nothing interesting happens, but I do feel like it does illustrate one thing, and that is that it's okay to give up on a poker hand sometimes. I had 0 equity in this pot, and you may be wondering, Lex, why didn't you try to bluff the flop or the turn once he checked you? And the reason why is just that I had 0 equity. I didn't have a flush draw, no straight draw. He had the range advantage as well. Let's compare this hand to the earlier hand I played with 6-4 of spades, where I triple barrel bluffed there on the river. I actually had outs to make a hand, like a straight and a flush. I don't really like bluffing if I have 0 outs to win, so I just completely gave up here, which is a good thing I did because definitely no way Rampage is folding ace high. Moving along, Rampage opens it up here in the cutoff to $75. The button folds, and I look down at a beautiful King Jack of clubs. Let's re-raise here and try to play a big pot. I make it $300. Back over to Rampage, who folds. A pretty boring night, not too many big hands, not really picking up any big hands either. Now I'm under the gun with pocket fives and raised to 2.5x, $60. I like to raise smaller from early position and then increase my raise size as I get closer to the button. The button comes along with a call, small blind calls, and under the gun straddle calls as well. So 4 ways to 6-3-6 2 spades. Small blind checks, under the gun checks. And I think on this board, I can mix a check or a bet. I feel like a lot of the time I'm going to have the best hand. It is possible my opponents could have a hand like 7s, 8s, or 9s, but I bet out $80. Button comes along with a call for 80. Small blind folds and under the gun folds as well. So now we're heads up to the King of Diamonds on the turn. I could check or bet, and I think a bet is fine against this player type. Try to get called by flush draws, straight draws, maybe a 3x hand. So I continue with a 1/3 pot size bet, and this time he folds. After this hand, the table actually ends up breaking, so no more poker for tonight. It's around 1 a.m., and I am fairly hungry, so I head up to Rise Kitchen and Deli, one of the nice restaurants they have here at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. It's actually open 24 hours as well, so it's great for those late night poker session meals. Well, I lost almost $3,000 tonight, but I got me some chocolate. If I got chocolate in my teeth, I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't wait till I got home to eat the 2 candy bars I got. So yeah, not my best poker session. I got schooled, owned there with ace deuce when I triple barrel bluffed and he called me down with bottom pair. That was a pretty sick call, and then I just lost basically every single hand I played. Kind of unfortunate. I did get to play on the same table as Ethan Rampage Poker. He is, I would say, the second biggest poker vlogger out there right now, so that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get into any pots with him. The table was pretty slow tonight, not too much action. In general, kind of a bad table for a Tuesday, but you know, sometimes that happens. It is a little bit unfortunate because last week I had a $15,000 profit week. So earlier last week, I won $8,000 in one session, one of my biggest wins. I actually talked about that in my last vlog. I got aces to kings in like a $7,000 pot, which is pretty sick. And then a couple days ago, I had a $5,000 profit win. I made a huge call down with ace high in a 3-bet pot versus another Euro Pro. Probably like the most fun, interesting hand I've probably played all year. But I didn't film it for the vlog because I was taking the entire week off of YouTube. The reason I took all last week off of YouTube is because I'm going to start posting more videos for the month of December. The reason I'm going to start posting more videos for the month of December is because December is the best month to post on YouTube for revenue. All these companies out here are paying higher amounts of money to put ads on YouTube videos. So you get paid sometimes double the amount of money on a video that you post in December that you may post in May or April. So I thought to myself, look, let's take a week off and then try to just boom, 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 put out a lot of videos. So for the month of December, I'm thinking 2, 3, maybe 4 poker videos a week. One, because I want to bring good content for you guys. And 2, if they're going to pay me double the amount of money to make a video, I'll do it. But overall, you know, kind of an annoying session, but that's poker. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose. Last week, $15,000 profit. Today, ended up losing $3,000, but we'll be back. Gonna film here in a couple more days, more videos here at the Hard Rock. I'm also going to Texas December 12th and December 14th, playing on the Lodge live stream, so stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, I'll see ya. Go. Go, go, go.